Hello, you guys. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Welcome into A Case of the Mondays. I go live every Monday at 12 p.m. ish to talk about different health and wellness topics, to touch base, to regroup. I know it's a holiday here in the States, but we still need to regroup. We need to regroup every single Monday to make sure that we're intentional and purposeful with the direction that we're headed. So I've been having conversations with women that are in my age range, 30s, late 30s. And well, I'm not claiming late 30s yet. I'm in my late mid 30s. Okay. But women that are, in that presumably the perimenopause range of their lives, not that age range is definitely what it is, but just women that are, realizing that their bodies are changing, the hormones are changing, like things are just different than they were in their 20s and in their early 30s. It's just something about it. I personally felt a shift when I turned 35. I did feel a shift even as a health and wellness girly, even as someone who tries to do the best I can to, stay on top of my eating habits and my movement and my everything. I do realize I did notice a shift in just the way my body responded to certain things when around that 35 age range. So, and I also, in my work, I work a lot with women that are 45 and older, 45 to 60, honestly. That's kind of like the range, okay? And so from my own experiences on quote unquote this side of things, and then from my conversations with trying to coach women through potentially some regrets they have or some ignorance that they had or things they didn't know about what they could have been doing during this time, and how they handled it, which is a lot of them went straight into diet culture tactics in order to handle this stage that we're at, if you're in my age range. And they realized that didn't work. They realized that messed up their metabolism even more. It jacked up their hormones even more, and it wasn't sustainable. And then their self-esteem is in the balance, their body image is in the balance, and then life is lifing. They got kids, they got a family, they got work, they got all these things, and they realize on the back end that I've got to do something different. And then they find me, and we start working on unlearning and redoing some healthy habits from a very sustainable pace. I have discovered and been having conversations about, but maybe didn't have the language for, this concept of the Decisive Decade. And there's two of them that I've just been reading about, and it makes so much sense that I'm just like, this is who I'm meant to help and how I'm meant to help people. How we navigate the Decisive Decade, which I'm going to tell you about. And for those people who maybe didn't quite capture what they needed to from when they were in it, and then now they're on the quote unquote other side trying to figure out, what do I do now? Okay, how do I, course correct? How do I navigate this, right? And so the first one, I'm going to type this in if I can. The first one is Decisive Decade. It seems more oriented towards your external decisions, like your decision making from an external standpoint. So it's like they say ages 18 to 28 roughly. Okay, we can say 14 to 24, but anyway, teenager to your mid 20s, something like that, being a decisive decade where your life, your choices, your literal choices of career, your choices of lifestyle, drugs, alcohol, high risk, more like high risk type behaviors or not. Or like I say, your career trajectory. It's more about your trajectory in your life is established during that time. And that is so true, because you think about how many people, say that, one or two changes of going to college or not going to college, or, experiencing a pregnancy or not, or getting married or not during that 18 to 28 range kind of changed the trajectory of their path. Maybe that's more a way to explain it. It changed where their path was aligned, right? And then there's a second one. There's a second Decisive Decade, which is ages 35 to 45, like mid 30s to mid 40s, where now it's about your habits and your health. So it's not about your path necessarily. Some people do pivot and make a big change to their path, but other people sometimes just, they're on a path, but it's about the quality of that path that they're on. And I love this, you guys, because this is exactly where the sweet spot is of everything that I teach, everything that I coach. All right. And so you have the decisive decade with your path's direction. And then you have your decisive decade over the quality of the path that you're on. And that's where your daily proactive habits are going to have an impact. But what happens? We don't think about it until we're all the way on the other end of this decisive decade and the decision has already been made. The bed has been made and we're trying to figure out how to redo. And it's not saying that you can't, but it's just this perspective of, wow, I could have lived this entire decade differently and had a different quality of the path that I'm on. So hear me clearly. It does not matter what side of this decisive decade you're on. All right. It's your mid-30s to your 40s and beyond. And could be another one. Who knows? I say the next one is probably, well, I don't want to say a spiritual one. We could see, we could have conversations around when that decade actually happens. But yeah, and so I want to give you guys, we're going to be talking about this. I'm going to talk about this, throughout the course of this year. This is something that I definitely want to hone in on with, with short form content here, with some long form content on my YouTube. So tap in. We're not going to learn it all today, but I just want to lay the framework for this concept. And so the decisive decade, number 2, okay, we passed number 1. If you're following me, we have passed decisive decade number 1. We're in our careers, we're in our marriages, we got our families, we got our this and that. We are kind of on that course, and there might be a little bit of something, but for the most part, those decisions, those pivotal decisions have already set forth. Case in point, one for me would be me deciding to this is so crazy. Me deciding to get sober at 26 years old. That was a decisive decade, 100%, now that I'm thinking about it, right? I drank heavily from age 21 to 26. There was a decision that had to be made. I literally remember coming into it where I felt like I was at a fork in the road, and it was like, I'm either going to go left or I'm going to go right. And I could just see it all the way until I was 80. I literally could see it, not just through my family lineage, but I could feel it. I was like, I just already know what this is about to be if I don't make a decision. And so at 26, which is so crazy to think about it in this concept of decisive decades, I decided to make a different decision and get sober early. If I had continued to drink from that point all the way up until my age now, absolutely, it would be, my quality of life would be totally different. My path would be totally different. I would not be on live with you guys today. So there's that for me. Now let's talk about the decisive. If you're just joining in, I am introducing this concept of the decisive decade, meaning that there are two decades that really determine our trajectory and then our quality of life. Okay. And so the first one is, teenage years to mid-20s, where you are making decisions about the foundation of your life. Who am I? What do I do? What's my life's course? What career am I going into? Where am I going to live? Different things like that. Is addiction going to be a part of my story? Am I going to make a different decision? Those types of things are being decided, more high risk, high balance type of stuff, right? And then in the second one is your mid-30s to mid-40s, where now we're talking about the quality of your life. What are you doing? What kind of old person do you want to be? You know what I'm saying? What type of life do you want to live? How mobile do you want to be? How independent do you want to be? You know what I'm saying? Like, how happy do you really want to be? Because this is it. And so I want to talk about, we know what I preach. I preach eating well, moving often, better sleep quality, managing your stress, and staying hydrated, which, by the way, we've got to take our water break. If you have not drank water yet, let's go ahead and do that. And as I'm talking about this topic, I love to hear from both sides of the coin. Okay, like I say, I have my following here on social media is largely like 2/3, 3/4 people ages 35 to age 70. Okay, so if you're younger than that, I love you. There is a content creator and a coach for you, but I am speaking to the people that are 35 and up. We're past a certain point where we can be caught up in the aesthetics and the trivial. We're past that. We got to we're maturing in our understanding of what's going on. And now it's time to mature in our choices and in our habits around those things. All right. And so I love this kind of conversation, regardless of where you find yourself on this continuum, whether you're actually in the decisive decade like me, or if you're on the other side where you're like, yeah, it's true. That was just very decisive. And then now I'm working it out, or I'm walking in the strong foundation that I laid for myself. It's never too late. It's just about what you're up against and the quality of your life. Okay. All right. So for today, I want to talk about the things that are in the way during this decisive decade. Okay. There are things that, ways of thinking. So if you're in that mid 30s to 40s range, maybe even a little closer to 50, let's go ahead and scoop y'all into. There are things that you are doing today, January 19th, I think it is, 2026, that you are playing with, and you've got to let it go. You've got to stop. Okay. Mindsets, decisions, ways of viewing your life that have to go. And I'm speaking to myself just as much as I'm speaking to you guys. Okay. And so the first thing I want to highlight, I've got 4 of them. Pay attention, write them down. We think we have more time to stay the same. That's a mindset thing. Okay. We are taking life for granted. Let's call it out. Let's call a spade a spade. Okay. We are taking life for granted. We're taking our ability to move and our ability to breathe and our ability to just, make a change for granted. We think that's always going to be the case, and it will be the case that you can change, but that doesn't mean that we take it for granted now and just do it later. You know what I mean? That's a misuse of grace. All right. And so we think we have more time to stay the same. We think we just got more time on the clock. Think about your 14, 15, 16-year-old, family members, loved ones, or whatever. They just think they have more time. They genuinely just think they have more time, and they just, and they do, but eventually you don't, So they have more time, but we also, I guess in their physical realm, they do have more time to decide in their lives. But how often do we reflect back and say, wow, I wish I would have cherished these moments a little more. I wish I would have just, been more present and saw the value of them when I was that age. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. Do you want to be 80 and looking back at this time thinking the same thing? Okay. That's number 1. We think we have more time to stay the same. You don't have more time to stay the same. Time is going by either way it goes, but that staying the same is impacting you. Okay. Which leads me to my second one. We're not paying attention, but our bodies are. Okay. So you can be aloof. You can just be, busy and just, disassociated. You could just be checked out from your body, from how you're feeling. You could be ignoring headaches. You could be ignoring back pain. You could just be pushing through ailments and mental health stuff and all that kind of stuff. But your body is not letting that go. Your body is slowly but surely being impacted by that, whether you mentally let yourself realize it or not. Okay. So we're not paying attention. That's here. We're not paying attention, but in our bodies are paying attention. Example for me, I was a college athlete, played basketball. Actually, I do remember my knees keeping score, but I wasn't really thinking about my knees as much as from the perspective that I have now. Now I'm like, oh yes, every last one of those jumps and runs and agility moves and all of that, my knees were keeping score because, honey, the score is up now. Okay. So they are definitely keeping score, but think about all the other areas of wellness where we're just, as long as our numbers are good, we're good. And the next thing you know, you go and you get your blood work done and that number is just a little bit past, right? You weren't paying all the way attention. You thought that number was going to stay the same with the same habits. You were just buying time. You were borrowing time. We don't have time to do that. All right. Another thing is that we are reactive rather than proactive. we wait until something bad happens and then we want to course correct. That's human behavior to a certain extent, that a lot of people wait until a rock bottom moment or a scare, a health scare, or someone close to them dying, some sort of reckoning, and then they kind of fling themselves into health and wellness practices because enough is enough. I'm tired, sick and tired of being sick and tired. But does it have to take that every single time for us to make changes? Like, does it require all of that for us to say, you know what, I deserve better. I want better for the future me. And so the future me doesn't want me to wait until I hit that rock bottom moment where I, discover I have type 2 diabetes and then now I'm course correcting. The future me wants me to get it together now. You see what I'm saying? That person who gets that diagnosis wants you to do it now. Okay? If you're a smoker and you know that either any kind of smoke, by the way, and you know that something that is affecting your lung health, period, right? To have smoke in your lungs is affecting your health. I don't care what anybody says, okay? Just as much as the pollution is and everything else, it's affecting you, right? The version of you 20 years from now wants you to take care of that now. Don't wait until something bad happens. It's not to say that that's going to prevent it fully, but it's a posture of valuing and nurturing what we do have right now as a gift, which is our health and our vitality. Okay. The last thing I'll say is we think we're the exception until it's us. I remember, or I can even talk about it now, of you see people getting older. You see people in your family going through things. You see people having surgeries. You see people moving slower. You see that. And sometimes we think, but not me. And that starts at a very young age where we start to think that. But I promise you, that mindset doesn't go anywhere until you start doing something different. Okay? And so a lot of times we think that we're going to be the exception. Like, we're not going to have things that impact us. And it's just like, how do you think old people get old? You know what I'm saying? Something that's been, a personal goal of mine is to work on my dental hygiene and just staying on top of it in a different way. Don't wait until you have a filling that's needed or a cavity or a root canal, and some of the errors of my youth have led to some things that I'm having to stay on top of. But this is my decisive decade. I want my teeth in my mouth for as long as possible. And I want to do everything that I can to make sure that that's the case. And so I maybe didn't honor that the best way that I should have in my trajectory decisive decade, but now in the quality of what I have going on, and this is just an example, the quality of what I have going on, I want to make sure that I do the best that I can, because people, lose their teeth somehow. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, yeah, but not mine. I'm just going to have mine forever. And it's like, huh? Really? How do you know that? You don't know that. But how many other ways do we think that way? You know what I'm saying? And I'm giving you guys examples so that you can make it true to you. But you are not the exception. You are not special. I coach women every day, and they wonder how I'm able to kind of hone in on their issues very quickly and give them solutions and, just kind of expedite this process. It's like, because I've heard this before. And although you're having a unique experience of something, that experience is not unique. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're in it yourself, and so your perspective is different. But from a whole, this happens often. You know what I'm saying? But the same timeline of events. And so you are not an exception. You probably will have, if not for change, similar to like my drinking problem. I could have told myself that, no, I'm not gonna end up like those people on the street. I'm not gonna end up like this person in my family or that person in my family. Like, you are not the exception. You think alcohol is taking it light on you? You think alcohol is gonna be like, nah, y'all, she's an exception. We're not gonna ruin her life the way we ruin everybody else's. Like, what? No, you are not the exception. So don't wait until health issues, mental health issues, are on your front doorstep in order to make a change. Shalanta says, I always tell people your older self will thank you. Absolutely. Absolutely. I thank myself every day for different things, decisions that I've made. And there's some that I wish I would have made, but I have evidence of doing the right thing for myself and being so grateful. Like, I don't even know how it happened. Thank you, God. But you know what I'm saying? But I'm just so grateful that decision was made because the struggle would have been on a different level, and in multiple lanes if I had not done some of those things. And so I want you all, this is a concept I'm going to be nurturing and talking about over the course of probably the next year, to be honest with you, because guess what? I'm going to be in this decisive decade for another 8 years, another 7 years. And I promise you, the conversations that I have sometimes, it scares me. And I'm just like, okay, so how do we work on this now? And I want to be a demonstration of that. And I want to bring you all with me, no matter where you are in that journey for yourself. Hear me clearly. It's never too late to change, but you've got some decisions to make today. Period. Okay? It's never too late to change, but you do have some decisions today that you need to make. Stop sitting on your hands about things. Stop thinking that you'll start. That's why I always support the day one mentality, because you don't have time to be waiting 5 days from now to do your day one. You don't have time for that. You don't have time, and you shouldn't. And you should go about it when you're ready and when you're mentally there. Try every single time. Okay, things, mentalities, and mindsets that are getting in the way is we think we have more time to stay the same. We're not paying attention, but our bodies are keeping score. We are reactive rather than proactive, and we think we're the exception until it's on our front doorstep. Don't let that be you. Don't let that be you. I think the Decisive Decade is going to be something I'm definitely going to be curating some wellness courses around, some more in-depth, intentional content around, because when I get on the other side of this, I don't want to leave any stone unturned as to what I was called to do and talk about and that sort of thing. So thank you all for joining me. I'll be live next Monday, same time, not same place, but same time, with a new topic, with a fresh perspective on any questions you guys may have. And shout out to you all that was able to join me live today. Okay? All right. See y'all later.